Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Wednesday, April 21st, and I'm Blair Kirkhoff. On today's show, we visit Missouri. We catch up with new defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. 3 years ago, Wilks reached the top of the football coaching profession when he was named the Arizona Cardinals head coach. But that lasted only 1 year. After sitting out the 2020 season to recharge, Wilks landed at Missouri. He spoke to me about his career path and the connections that brought him to Columbia. After a break, you'll hear from Tigers Athletic Director Jim Sterk on the topic of name, image, and likeness. There are several plans in the works, including federal legislation sponsored by Missouri Congressman Emanuel Cleaver and another sponsored by Kansas Senator Jerry Moran. Also, states have started down the road of their own name, image, and likeness legislation. 9 states, including Kansas, have proposed legislation that impacts the schools in their states. We spoke to Sterk generally about how new name, image, and likeness rules will impact college sports. Let's get started with Missouri defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. Settling in, you've done it so many times during your career, packed up and moved and gone to the next place. But this is the first time maybe coming off of a year in which you didn't coach. So how about the year off, what that did for you in terms of recharging batteries and maybe getting settled into Columbia, how that's been going?
Well, I think that's exactly what I did, Blair, was like recharge the battery, really try to figure out exactly what I wanted to do from a career standpoint. I was looking for a little bit of longevity, consistency. When you look at really 17, moving up as a coordinator in Carolina, even though I was in the same place, it's a new job, so you're taking on new responsibility. So it's a whole new year. And then go from there to Arizona, 1 year there. You go to Cleveland, 1 year there, and it's like, whoa, okay. Let me figure out exactly what I want to do next. So taking the year off was great. And then trying to figure out exactly the next path. And I'm excited about being here. College wasn't on the forefront, but I was definitely looking for the best opportunity. And coming back to college wasn't just the thing that I wanted to do. It was really trying to find the right fit, being around the right people. So coming back to Mizzou wasn't just a mere fact of coming back to college. I felt like this was the right fit for me and my family. And when you look at what Coach Drink has put in place, number one, what he stands for, his values, we're right in line with one another. The importance of really trying to develop these young men, not only on the field, but off the field is important to me as it is to him. And then the coaching staff that he had in place, a lot of the individuals that I knew over the years, had a close relationship with, and all that is important to me. And the transition coming here has been great. Just been really trying to saturate myself in with football and getting to know the players and trying to implement the scheme. So it's been good.
He said that your paths first crossed when he became the coach at Appalachian State. Do you remember the first time you talked to him or met him, or just what was that encounter like?
Well, being right there in Charlotte, from Charlotte, and I was working with the Panthers, I have a strong connection and a relationship with App State football and very supportive of the head coaches that are there. So a lot of guys that I played with started reaching out to me and saying that, the new coach is great, wanted to talk to you. And so he and I connected and just basically just hit it off. And I would always just stay in contact with him via text, just, congratulating him on wins and whatnot. And our relationship started growing from there. Coach Harbison, who I've known for years, and he was just recently with me in Arizona, was on his staff. And then when the opportunity came, he reached out to me and, that conversation started.
He had a heck of a year. That 1 year as the Appalachian State coach, beating North and South Carolina both. I'm wondering if deep down as an Appalachian State guy, if you took some satisfaction in the year that he had and winning the Sun Belt and just having the success that he had, even though it was just 1 year in Boone.
Of course, anytime we can have success on the Rock, it's important to all the former players, and we constantly stay in contact with one another. Beating South Carolina and North Carolina was huge for us. It just shows you where the program was and is, and it's just continuing to grow. So I was happy for him. and then happy for the program as a whole, and smart enough to understand and know that this is part of the profession. Would love for him to have stayed, but, with success comes opportunity.
It occurs to me that you made so many good moves throughout your career to get to the pinnacle, right? I mean, to become an NFL head coach, every step along the way was building toward that. And then for it to end the way that it did, the abrupt way that it did, I'm wondering, did you have to set aside feelings about the coaching profession and just put your head down and move forward? Or was there some bitterness at all about the way it ended in Arizona?
I think, Blair, what you initially said is the approach you have to take. I mean, you have to just put your head down and continue to grind. And I think one thing that you have to do, you have to control your own narrative and not listen to what's being said, because you became a head coach because you were a good coach in the body of work that you had put in place before. I tell people I just didn't succeed in the time frame that I was given. I don't consider myself as a failure as a head coach. I just did not meet the expectations within the time frame. So it was back to work for me. And like you said, just putting your head down, grinding. I have nothing but great things to say about the Cardinals organization and Michael Bidwell, because he gave me an opportunity that 31 other teams didn't. I told him at the time, and I still say I do wish I had more time to fulfill the obligation. But I'm happy where I am now, and hopefully that we can have great success here. That's what I'm banking on and expecting, and that's the reason why I came here.
Well, I got to say, I cover the Chiefs as well, and I was there at Arrowhead when you brought your team in, and up until that afternoon, Patrick Mahomes was kind of having his way with everybody in the NFL until that day, and you guys did as good a job on him and that offense as anybody did that year. Can I get you to relive that moment, that game? 26-14 was the final, and Mahomes was less than 250 in the air that day, threw a couple of touchdowns to Tyreek Hill. But Chandler Jones, I remember, was really, really good that day, and the entire defense was excellent. What do you remember about that afternoon?
Played a very competitive football game. I've said this for years, college, pro, it doesn't matter. The game comes down to really about 4 or 5 plays. And I can recall one, as well as we played, we gave, up a big play with Tyreek down the middle of the field in the red zone. We busted the coverage there. And when you look back at certain things, you can't beat yourself. That's one of the things I've always talked about as a defense. We have to play smart. We have to understand situational football. And understanding situational football is understanding where the marquee players are aligned within the formation. So with that guy, you better know where he's aligned every single time, whether he's at 3, 2, or 1. And that's the one play that I remember, because I felt like that was a turning point in the game. We played well. We played them tough, and I wish we could have had the opportunity to win it. Chandler Jones did play well.
Yeah, I always liked that guy. I mean, just a beast of a player too,
and a great person too. Just a solid human being.
Yeah. So with Mizzou, they had some issues last year on deep. Had a couple of games where, they ended up winning, but they were total shootouts, and lost a couple that were not much of a shootout. You're taking over a unit that looks to improve, and I'm just wondering your early impressions, and having gone through spring practice, do you like what you see? Is there what's the potential? What's the upside for this Missouri defense?
I think we have a lot of upside. I think it's about really trying to, lay a foundation with which we have definitely started. I thought spring went well. You could see the players. You can see guys really buying into the scheme. My approach has always been, across the board as coaches, being great communicators. And we in this generation of right now is communicating what and the why. And I want players to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, so they have a comprehension of what they should be doing within the call and within the defense. And I pride myself in being a great teacher. I think we don't get enough credit as coaches in regards to that. Sometimes it's like a ball cap and a whistle, and it's way beyond that. And I think what we have to understand, everybody can't have a 5-star player. Everybody can't have a first-round draft pick. So you have to be in the business of understanding. You have to develop players. you have to develop players. And I've always prided myself on that my years in Carolina and getting guys that may have not been high priority guys. And sometimes they were free agents, but we got them to play at a high level and we won a lot of football games. So that's my approach in trying to get these guys to the next level. So I've seen the development and growth throughout the spring, and we continue to build on that as we go through April.
Having spent all the time in the NFL that you did, and now that you're back in the college game, is there something refreshing about seeing, maybe coaching 19, 20-year-olds versus, men who have signed their first contracts and second contracts and are millionaires, basically?
You know what? My approach, Blair, has always been the same. I think, regardless of whether it's the NFL or college, the great ones want to be coached. Players want to be coached. They want to be held accountable, and they want you to be able to pay attention to the details and show that consistency with them. So I haven't changed that approach. I believe in telling players what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. I believe in being consistent and holding that accountability with myself first, as well as holding them accountable. And I think when they see your level of commitment and how you go about doing your work each and every day, that's how you build the trust within them. So that's been my approach. I would say this on a personal level: when you look at 17 coordinator, no position, head coach in 18, all right, 19 coordinator, no position, and then I come and sit out 20. So I am like a kid in a candy store right now, just coaching and running the meetings and just, working things on the field, because I always felt like that I had an influence when I can just really get my hands on guys and really mold them each and every day. And that's what I'm doing now.
Let's circle back really quick just to the beginning. I love the story that I heard you tell once. You finished at App State, played on good teams. They hadn't quite gotten to that FCS championship level yet, but you were part of that building process. Of Sparky Woods recruited you, but it was you finished with Jerry Moore's teams.
Yes.
So you leave Appalachian State, but you don't go into coaching right away. That doesn't start immediately for you, does it?
No. I came out of Appalachian and I went to Seattle as a free agent. Didn't make it there. Came back and I played arena ball. And that's when I met Coach Harbison. He coached me there. And then I got into to banking. One of the close friends of mine, Chuck Bedingfield, who was a supporter there at the University of Appalachian, helped me get into banking. I worked for him during the summer. And I started the management program there and went back to Charlotte, went back to pretty much my community. I was a branch manager there, and that's what I was going to be. I was going to be a banker, suit and tie every day. And I woke up one morning, I went in and I was like, man, I'm really missing football. And I called another mentor of mine, Ruffin McNeil, who coached me at Appalachian. Ruffin now was at NC State, was a head coach at East Carolina. And he was about to bring me back up to Appalachian as a GA. And then he said, let me talk to my cousin, Daryl McNeil, who's scared to get the job at Johnson C. Smith. And he called him, and Daryl hired me as the defensive coordinator. To be honest, I was going there as a DB coach. I tell the story all the time. And, Division II, not a lot of money. We're lying in the field washing the clothes, and we did all that. And he was in the process of trying to hire a coordinator and really couldn't afford him, and walked to my office one day and said, you coordinate the defense. So I started out as a defensive coordinator and just grew from there.
But it got you eventually a head coaching job at
it did. And I tell people all the time, man, you could see the skyline of Charlotte. And you could see at that time it was Erickson Stadium. And I remember telling one of my close buddies, colleague of mine, Stephen Aycock, I said, man, I'm going to work over there one day. Charlotte was the banking capital, Nations Bank, Bank of America. It changed names over the years. And Wells Fargo was Wachovia First Union. But anyhow, he said, what are you talking about, Bank of America? And I said, no, man, I'm talking about with the Panthers. Fast forward 2012, I was very fortunate and surreal to have the opportunity to come back and work for my home team. So that was very, glorifying.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of KansasCity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit KansasCity.com/SportsBeat KC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. Welcome back to SportsBeat KC. Here's my conversation with Mizzou Athletic Director Jim Sterk about name, image, and likeness. As we said earlier, there are plenty of plans out there, and we're not sure if it ultimately will be guided at the state or national level, but it is going to happen, and there are implications for college sports. Here's Jim Sterk.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the next 3 or 4 months, maybe it'll take 6 months, but by this summer, I think you'll see a dramatic change. Where that goes, I'm not sure. There's a number of bills being sponsored, and obviously each of the states have a different idea of where it should go. And then the membership of the NCAA is all over the board as well. So what I can tell you is probably going to be a little bit of chaos this summer as far as when this all comes down. And then what is the reaction or ability for the NCAA to coalesce ideas and come together as far as a membership of what we want to have going forward with the guardrails that are put in either by Congress, and then the Supreme Court taking up the Alston case is kind of a part of that. But really, Congress will take precedent, if you will, of what can be done. I was on a Zoom call with our athletic director associations, and Senator Moran has a bill, and he was asked the question of, what are the chances of this getting done by July 1st when some of the states start to have impact? And basically it was slim to none. And so that means that there could be a lot of different rules out there. And how do you go ahead with our membership and try to make something work nationally? I think that's going to be the challenge.
Do you have a thought on how it should be shaped and implemented? Your thought, what would work best for an SEC school might not work best for a Conference USA school. But do you have a thought on the best way to implement this?
No, a lot more smarter people than I are working on this thing. But, I think there does need to be guardrails. There needs to be ways so that we can make progress, but not at the expense of all the Olympic sports disappearing in intercollegiate athletics and having a negative impact on those. And so I think it's trying to find the fine line of allowing some things that general students can do as far as with their name, image, and likeness or on social media. And there's been a lot of discussion for the past couple of years on it, but I don't think there's any one bill that I see or one way to do it. I think it'll be a combination of a lot of things coming together and trying to get a consensus on something that can work for everyone.
What do you anticipate the financial impact of this on Missouri?
I have no idea. And really, it won't be the institution per se. I think it'll need to be, some of the bills would have revenue sharing and, a student athlete's bill of rights and, those kinds of things. But I think I do not see that institutions will employ student athletes. I think the name, image, and likeness will be in an atmosphere outside of the institution per se, with us kind of guiding student athletes on how to navigate. And we currently have Open Doors is the company that we utilize, and we're having them evaluate our student athletes if they want to evaluate their social media accounts. And for us, it's positive because they're looking at, and we're encouraging it because when they graduate, they're going to have to be hired. And so what is your social media account? When someone Googles you, what is going to pop up on that baby? And so we're trying to be proactive that way and really educate our student athletes on how to succeed, not only while they're here, but then when they graduate as well.
The thing I wonder about is a business in Columbia or a business, in Fayetteville, Arkansas, whatever, offering a student athlete, a quarterback or a star basketball player, X number of dollars for an autograph session at the dealership or the whatever. And, thinking about fair market value for something like that and advantage, maybe potential loopholes in the system. I guess, are you confident that it can be implemented in a way that'll be fair for everyone, or are these things that we have to think about and be concerned about?
I think there's a lot of those. I think the list is many on that list of how you could circumvent the system, or I think that's what everyone's trying to find out, or to think about now. And we've got a meeting actually early next week in person with the ADs in the SEC. And so I would imagine name, image, and likeness, it could be one of the full days of what are we going to do, and where do we think it's going? And, hopefully Congress can come together and have something that is an umbrella, if you will, for the entire country so that we can maintain something similar throughout the United States. But if it doesn't, then as of July 1st, then it's every state for themselves, and we'll see where it goes.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our SportsBeat KC production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Links to stories about Mizzou football and name, image, and likeness can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, we have another deal for you. You can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. Sports Pass is the online version of the Star Sports section. You get all the stories that appear in the print editions of the Star, plus many more stories that appear only on the website. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel, and it's always a great time to subscribe. The Royals off to a hot start, even though they lost their second in a row to the Tampa Bay Rays last night. The local colleges are always making news, and of course, it's never not Chiefs season. We've got the draft coming up next week. So how do you get this? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That's kansascity.com/sportspass2020. You want more than just sports coverage? Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports, news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional national news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down any of these offers, send me an email, bkirkhoff@kcstar.com. We will get you to the right place. So whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Thursday with another episode.